My name is Dave Lindy, and this is my wife, Kim. Pastor Mark asked us to share a little bit about our stewardship testimony. And there's kind of a great mark in time for us. Kim and I were married in 1996 in Italy, and in 2000 we moved to this county. So between 2000 and 2002, Kim was stationed at the base in Port Hueneme. And it was the first time we'd owned a house, so that was a big financial impact for us. We were very involved at Westminster Presbyterian Church at the time. We worked with the youth group, and we were in the music group, and we were in all sorts of different studies, and it was a great time. The pastor at the time did a series on stewardship, and it was a great series, followed with some teaching time during the week, so people could go on a weeknight. And it was, I don't remember how many weeks, but I think Kim and I both felt really called to put tithing first instead of kind of an afterthought. Like, let's see how we're doing financially, and then we'll see if we can tithe, but to actually make that the priority. At about the same time, one of the church members asked us if we had ever done any financial planning and said, do you have savings? Are you looking toward retiring someday? And, we thought that we were doing okay. We had a couple $1,000s in the bank, and, I was in my early 30s, and Kim was not in her 30s yet, as you can probably guess. And we really hadn't thought much about that. And so we invited John over to our house, and he sat us down and said, here's what you need if you plan to stop working by the time you're 70. And by the way, do you have life insurance, Dave? Because I know Kim does, she's in the Navy. And so it was a very practical time, but at the same time, he was a church member, so he understood that tithing was important to us. So we went through this conversation, and at the end of it, he put a really big number in front of us and said, this is how much you need to take out of your paychecks before you do anything else. And he was right. And so it seemed like an easy decision after we finally decided that we could probably do that. And even then, he said, try it out. If it doesn't work, we can adjust. But it did. And God proved then, and has continued to prove since, that when we put him first, he takes care of us. So 5 moves later, a couple of those international, and 2 kids later, we set priorities when we moved, and Kim will talk about this last time, but we find a church, which means we find friends, and then we reassess our finances, and we've had to do that a lot. Kim's been in the Navy, so her paycheck kind of stayed steady, but mine went up and down and up and down, and it's not always easy, but like I said, when we've made it a priority, God has blessed us through that.
So in the summer of 2013, I retired from the Navy, and we traveled for a year, and then the summer of 2014, we came back to the States, and we came to CPC. We started getting our lives together. We put our kids in school, we rented a place, we found jobs, and actually God was very faithful in all of that. And after a few months, when we kind of had everything sort of together, we thought we need to get serious about restarting our tithing. And about a year ago, Mark did a sermon on tithing, and while I was listening to that sermon, I remember having this immediate thought and telling Dave, if we tithe, we're never going to be able to afford to buy a house here, because, we wanted to buy a house and they're expensive, and the difference between what we were giving and tithing was the difference between paying rent and paying a mortgage. And so then that was my immediate thought, and then the next thought was, you can't think like that. It's not my money anyway. And so we started doing the auto pay in March, and I'm really happy for auto pay because some of you are probably diligent check writers. I'm the kind of person who could find something different to do with that money every month of the year. So we started doing the auto pay in March. In May, George King took us to look at a house, and he will tell you it was not a pretty house. It was not the kind of house that you walked into and thought, oh, this is nice. I told Dave later that night when we walked in, I remember thinking that I could imagine our life unfolding in that house. And it had the virtue of being something we could afford. So we saw the house in May. In July, we got ready to close on the house. And we could afford it, but it was going to be a little bit tight, and so we're thinking about how are we going to change things. And 10 days before we closed escrow on the house, we had an unexpected increase in income that matched almost exactly what the difference between what we were going to pay our rent and what our new mortgage was going to be. And so, you know, God provided for us, and most days I wake up and I think, man, I'm so grateful to have this house. And what the house lets us do is really live out one of our favorite verses, which is Hebrews 13:2, which says, "Do not neglect to show hospitality, for by doing so some have entertained angels without knowing it." And we have had the great good fortune of entertaining lots of angels in our house. Sometimes it's 2 people, sometimes it's 32 people. We have people over so often that Friday at dinner we were setting the table and our kids said, "Who's coming over tonight?" And I said, "Nobody." And they said, "What do you mean?" Like, that's just what we get to do now. So, you know, we're blessed because we tithe, and we tithe because we're blessed. And I don't know which comes first in that circle, but we're just really grateful for what tithing has done for us and what it lets us do for other people.